What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tackling Misguided. I'm Pat.
I'm Hunter.
And with us today is...
Kevin Ullman.
All right, so for this week's episode 22, Savagely Misguided.
I like it.
Because I came up with that within 5 seconds.
It's a good
I
one.
just meshed well. I want to introduce him, but I'm going to let it introduce himself. So with that...
Let's do this.
Kevin, tell us about Savage Tacticians and tell us about your Marine Corps career and contracting.
All right. Well, let's see. I served in the Marine Corps for about 8 years. I was a 2nd Battalion Marines guy, Echo Company. Yet. After that, I got out. I did private security for about 9 years. So on some pretty good gigs. And in the middle of all that, I laying in my bed one day, I was thinking, shit, this can all go away. What am I going to do? And I had the genius idea of starting another clothing company, as if there's not enough already. But it's kind of funny at the time when I started all that. I wasn't a big clothing brand guy. Like, I didn't wear Grunt Style 9-Line. Those were the big ones back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started. I didn't wear any of that stuff, but I was just like, started clothing company. I don't know where that idea came from. I decided to do it.
There was a niche there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just jumped on it. I like to create stuff. I have ideas. And I thought that would be a good idea. So jumped on it. And at the time it was VetLife Apparel. And I rebranded. Now it's Savage Tacticians. And yeah, man, we're doing good. We're growing pretty steadily, and I'm excited.
So, we'll get into all the Savage Tacticians stuff more like towards the end, because the bulk of the podcast and basically the whole purpose is to get veterans on and hear their stories. I didn't really have the chance to to cover that with you and tell you about that, but really, I started this because I did 8 years as well, but I came in at the drawdown of Afghanistan, and Iraq was already fucking done. I came in 2012. So I spent.
You were just getting out?
I spent 8 fucking years, and my deployments were fucking Norway. So I didn't get to do any of the cool shit, right? Or, but so you see all these other. Thank me for my service. But you see all these other like all these other YouTubers and podcasters and stuff, and like all the even Black Rifle Coffee podcast, like the guys that they have on there, they're all like, oh, I went to combat. Oh, I did this, and it's great. It's fantastic, and it's like good shit to listen to. But at the same time, I would be listening to that. It was like the one thing that's consistent in the veteran community is the fact that everyone's got a fucking story, whether it's some dumbass drunk fucking story from Thailand or some shit like that. So I wanted to get everybody from all walks of life to come on and talk, no matter what they fucking did, as long as they're not dishonorable or any of that stupid bullshit.
So what initially, why did you choose the Marine Corps over, say, the Army, and like, why?
So after I graduated high school, I started college, and sitting in class one day, I was just like, fuck, this is me. I gotta get out. I want to get out. I want to go do something. So I went down to the local recruiter office. And initially, I actually walked into the Air Force. I wanted to be a combat controller or PJ, and that's what I signed up to do. And when I made it to MEPS, come to find out I was colorblind to just like the last page in the color book. It's like a certain shade of red.
Okay.
And like I can see all these great colors, but that last page fucked me. So I remember sitting on the phone in the MEPS office to their lieutenant, and he was like, oh man, he was trying to sell me on being an MP and motor T and all this other stuff, and I was just like, nah,
I'm not a fucking idiot.
I was like, I want to go do some cool shit, you know. So I walked out, and I basically told him I wasn't going to do anything, but I was like, man, the Marine office is right there. So I just rolled up in there in MEPS, and they're like, legally we can't talk to you here, but like, here's a recruiter's number, I waited there all day. I went home eventually, and then went and talked to a Marine recruiter, and I didn't know you know, I don't think a lot of people know about the Marine Corps and MARSOC and recon and all that stuff. So I didn't know anything better at the time, and talking to him, I think I looked at amphibious vehicles, and I was like, that's kind of dope, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, let me
Yeah, fucking yes, bitches.
So I signed up, and the Marine Corps, that was it, man. I took off to MEPS, did all that shit again, headed to Parris Island, got to Parris Island, found out that I was not amphibious vehicles. I was 03 open contract.
Oh.
Real quick, I'm gonna stop you on that real quick. I was the opposite. So I got told I was gonna go I wanted to go as a grunt, right? And they say the same fucking shit to everybody that wants to come in as infantry. They're like, oh yeah, it's fucking like closed out for a year, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to go as a tanker. I was supposed to go in August as a tanker, and then I got hit up one night at like 8 o'clock at night. He was like, hey man, you're leaving tomorrow. I didn't understand how boat spaces worked at the time. So then I graduated, and I got told I was going to be a fucking AAV operator. At graduation, I'm like, what the fuck is an AAV? What the fuck is that?
Is that what
Found out real quick.
That's what you ended up?
Yeah.
They sent you all? Man, dude.
1833, baby.
After riding in AAVs, man, my first pump was on a Mew. We rode LCACs in Iraq, and I'll never forget doing workups with AAVs. Man, bless you guys.
They were.
Because that is a horrible MOS to be in, I feel like. Anyway, the guys riding in the back of it, dealing with the diesel fumes coming in.
Well, yeah, so it
water.
sucked. It sucks for you guys, and it sucks for the boot. So the rear crewman that sits in the back, that's like the bootest dude. Like, we put him in the back, give him a Maddox pick handle, and we're like, hey, if we start sinking and the grunts freak out, start hitting them. Like, don't let them start opening hatches and shit. Like, that's his only job, but 90% of the time he was doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like, asleep against the fucking hatch. But like, for the rest of us, like, if you're, especially if you're a crew chief, that was the fucking money, because you're above water first. Like, you're not in the dungeon, so you're not getting seasick necessarily. So it was fucking awesome.
It's fresh air.
But land driving was the tits. Like, I was a field fucking Marine. Like, I hated being at the ramp. Loved being, like, I've met a couple of my other guys that are in the area, and when I was still with my ex-wife, she was like, how was he because I was like their corporal and sergeant and shit, and they're like, how was he as like your leader or whatever? And they're like, he really loved going to the fucking field, like, a lot. Because that's where it was at. That's where the money was made.
It's like the opposite, I feel like, for a grunt guys. Like, we love our gig, we love our job, we love going and getting some, but we fucking hate the bush, dude.
Well, that's your, because that is your job. That is a grunt's
Going
job.
out defense week, digging in, just sitting out there. I got a story for that too. But but it's funny though about that. You know, how I chose the Marine Corps is after I did sign up, I'll never forget my parents calling me and asking me, like, you know, my dad, you know, retired Navy, and my mom and dad going, why didn't you choose the Navy? And I was like, nothing's happening in the Navy. I want to go get some. I remember saying that to them. You know, I was like, I want to go get some.
Unless they put me on a fucking Sea Whiz, I'm good.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
God, I love
There was
that
a funny thing about LCACs. I didn't know this until I went to go be at JTAC. Apparently, the guy that drives that LCAC, the officer in charge, he's considered a pilot. He wears wings, even though he's like this far off the ground. Yeah, it blew my mind.
What the fuck?
I know, right? Weird.
Have you had a chance to ride an LCAC with it?
I have.
Did
I don't.
they pack you in the can in the middle?
Yes.
Oh my
So
God.
we were coming back. We were out in the field for like 2 weeks. In the morning, we were coming back, and because I was stationed in Pendleton at first, that third track's out there. We were coming back, and we're passing the LCAC tower, and I was booty boot, so I didn't know like what was going on when we stopped all of a sudden, and like get out, you know, start doing our checks and shit. We were loading up on LCACs.
Oh no.
For no reason. Just like they had to get a qualification in.
Check in the box.
So, and there's no tanks around, so they loaded us up and drove us all the way down, like, to off of San Diego, and then back up to like San Clemente, and then came back and dropped us off at the LCAC. We were there for like I was on that bitch for like 4 fucking hours.
It was a check ride. It was a check ride.
I mean, you done workups in Lejeune and stuff like that, so you know it's god awful. So we loaded up. Actually, I'll never forget. It was a hot fucking summer day. We loaded up on an LCAC and we drove out I don't even know how far it was, but we were on that fucker for a long time. And I'll never forget, dude, in the Marine Corps, of all the workups and everything I did, that was probably the one workup that I came mentally, I was so close to breaking mentally. You were packed in
internal.
So fucking tight. You got cruisers everywhere. You're just sitting there and you can't fucking move. And on top of it being hot as fuck, you're out there dealing with the water, you're riding around, you can't move. And on top of it all, I had a fucking Chinese torture drill. The water was just dropping right on top of me.
Just one at a time after,
dude,
just not,
and I'll never forget that moment either, because I said I mentally had to talk to myself and go, just find a happy place. You're gonna be good.
Don't go internal.
From that moment on, whenever we had to get an LCAC, I strategically positioned myself to make sure I didn't go back into that can.
Hell yeah.
I always did the overflow, which was up by like the pilots. And
that's where we were. We were in the overflow because mine was opposite because there was only 2 crews for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 tracks on it. The overflow is the opposite of that. It is freezing fucking cold in there, which I get hot day, but then when you're in there,
when I had AC, it was way better than what I had. I made sure I fucking.
They had us all packed in there, so I mean there was room, but not room because they had 2 crews and then their guys also packed in there at the same time, and then you're just sitting there like, when the fuck are we getting off of this?
That's the beautiful thing about contracting is like you don't have to deal with the stupid shit. One of the things that really sucks is check rides, and those LCAC pilots need to get hours just like any other pilot.
Yep.
So you're at the mercy of whoever needs to get that check in the box. Once you become a contractor, it's a little bit different because you were a contractor for 9 years. So you
Good
did.
segue.
You did the.
I see what you did. I see what you did.
You did the infantry portion of it. What was the reason that you were like? You said you were just sitting there and you're like, man, I want to do X contracting. What was your cathartic moment that you were just sitting there and you're like, this is kind of like either this is better or this is fucking dumb, whichever it was.
Or as far as going, like why I chose to go into contracting. So I started college back up while I was in the Marine Corps, and then after doing that for so long, I stopped again. I was just like, man, college, I wanted it, but my heart wasn't in it. And I think the reason why is because in today's society, it's beat into us that we need to go to college. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to force myself to obtain that goal, but my heart wasn't in it. So when I was coming up, getting a short timer, I noticed a buddy of mine that went into contracting, and I was like, man, maybe that's what that. Let me see where that goes. Mm-hmm. Let me see. So I applied. I think because I was still active duty, no one would really touch me, mm-hmm. and so I think I applied to DynCorp at the time, mm-hmm. and which was a horrible experience. But I applied to DynCorp. They hired me basically before I got out of the Marine Corps. I applied for the voluntary early release program at mm-hmm. the time because the Marine Corps was trying to downsize.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I had a lot of guys that
with my command, and then I also got to sell my remaining leave back, so it was great.
Yeah.
I got out 2 weeks later. I was in Afghanistan, and I did their security / biometrics with DynCorp.
Like the bats and the systems where you do the fingerprints.
You're doing
this is all his
eye
deal.
scan, fingerprints, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And which is a huge Afghan-wide database, which has like all the terrorists and all the people on watch lists and all that stuff, different grades. But I did that for. I got there like November. I think by end of December, I was back at applying to other gigs, and a buddy of mine that was at on a certain contract, I hit him up. He's like, yeah, use me as a reference, whatever. I applied to that, and I got hit back that I would be a great fit for this particular program, and I was like, cool. So I went back and I was like, give me a bird. I fucking quit. Mm-hmm. I wanted out of there because it was just a really shitty gig, to be mm-hmm. honest. But it was the first step, towards something else out of the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So I sat over there for a while. I got home. I went to vetting. It was a very pretty serious vetting. I think there was 20 guys total, and I would say there was like 3, 4, 5, 6, there was about 6, 7 guys that made it through the vetting. So once I did that, it was cool. I had that lined up. At the time too, this particular company was losing the contract to another company, and that company contacted me and asked me if I wanted to come over with them, so I did. And they actually paid me in advance to stay on board
Oh, wow.
to fill, which is very surprising because I was like, look, I had to wait because it's a TSSCI gig. This particular one was, and it takes a little bit longer for those clearances to go through versus just a regular secret. And they actually paid me in advance just to wait it out. In the meantime, I went to I got a call to come to WIPS. I went and did that just to get the certification and make some money for that vetting. I knew I could pass that after passing what I just went through. So I did that, and I went to work for this particular company, and I did that for a while. It was a great gig. And one thing I love about that the contract side versus being in the military is you don't deal with a whole lot of bullshit. You got freedom. You get really good gear.
Yeah.
You don't deal with
and it depends.
you don't deal with bureaucracy bullshit. And,
I mean, it's going to be everywhere you go, to be honest. Not as bad, but this wasn't like a State Department gig, so the gear was a lot better, the quality of guys was a lot better, the food and just everything was really good. Anyway, I had a really good time doing that, and I did that. I was on that particular gig for about 6 years before I left and went to another one, which was another TSSCI gig, and it was asset protection and recovery and stuff of that, and really, really cool stuff to learn and see behind the scenes that we don't get to see. But I enjoyed it. It was great, man. But I think when all this COVID stuff kicked off, the brand was doing really good, and I decided I think it was time for me to leave the stuff behind and focus full time on the brand.
So you were already doing Sav-Tac.
Oh yeah, I think
It was what was it called?
VetLife. It was VetLife at the time. So
I remember. So funny story. I remember VetLife, but I had no idea Sav-Tac existed until Nick.
Oh, really?
Till you came into the shop on Christmas Eve and picked up that MP5. When you walked in, Nick was like, "You know who that is?" I'm like, "That's a guy picking up an MP5." with a guy that speaks Irish. Like, that's from Ireland. That's from Ireland. He's like, "Nah, dude, that's the fucking owner of Sav-Tac." And I was like,
What?
What is that? And then I instantly went home and I bought like 5 of your shirts.
That's
And now every time, it never fails, every time this motherfucker comes in the store, I'm wearing a Sav-Tac shirt because about five
That's a true story.
five
You are.
fucking days out of the week, I'm wearing a Sav-Tac shirt.
I almost decided to buy you some shirts because I thought that's all you had.
I'm almost at that point, actually.
We got some good stuff coming, so.
I'll be
The
honest,
Hawaiian
like,
shirts.
your
Hey,
guys'
you saw it last episode. The M14s and Beachy Dream or Beachy Days.
You guys,
Dreams?
you guys
That
actually
shirt?
have good-looking shirts. There's a lot. I see a lot of 9-line apparel and some other shirts out there. And I'm not talking trash, but it's like their purpose is to just get more shirts out there, whereas Sav-Tac has like actual merit behind it. You look at the shirt and you're like, somebody put a thought into that. There was a thought before they put it on a shirt, and it looks good. It's not goofy with like a gigantic flag on the side, and on the back it says, I pray for peace, but I'm ready for war, kind of silly shit.
So
The goons.
It's funny. I never wore any of those shirts when I was in or got out or anything like that, and so it was kind of weird that I started a brand that was. But it's funny though, because even though I didn't wear that stuff when the idea behind my brand when I first started was VetLife was to be kind of inclusive to all branches, and so starting out. It's funny that I look back at some of the stuff when I first started. I was like, oof, But I had stuff for like the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Army, the Marine Corps, just again encompassed everybody. But as I grew, I kind of learned. I was like, man, I don't think I would really wear any of this stuff myself. So I just kind of learned as I grew, I want to make shit that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cool, but it doesn't scream. Okay, so being deployed so many times, I've seen really
cringy
stuff. Like I'm just dudes that shouldn't be downrange, and they have hats and stuff that's like that says contract sniper or stuff like that, and I was just like, I don't ever want to make anything like that. I don't want to make stuff that says I'm a badass,
mm-hmm.
I'm an operator.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make shit that people can look at and be like, yeah, that's kind of cool, or there's some meaning behind it, and it's
mm-hmm.
just a dope graphic, it has a pretty cool message, but it's not over the top. Like I said, the flag, the oversized flag on the sleeve and all this stuff. I just want to make shit that's kind of cool but fun at the same time. So
mm-hmm.
if you look at our beach wear and all this stuff, it's kind of fun, you know what I mean? But then we also have shit that you can go work out in,
mm-hmm.
And you have a graphic tee that just got a cool graphic on it. It's not really got some loud statement on it, you know what I mean? But
I'm trying to be inclusive with everybody too for the podcast, by the way. Ignore the Marine Corps flag here, but
a lot of companies have that's what some of them will try to sell everything to everyone, whereas then you have other companies, and it's not just attire companies, they'll be the more exclusive it is, the more people you can say you can't wear it. It's kind of like premium cars.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like a very expensive type of car, and only like 1% of the population can afford it, let alone have it, and it's the exclusivity, which I always thought was kind of snobby.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't seem like the kind of guy that would be walking around with like a Maserati shirt.
Yeah. So what's funny about that is when I started the brand, it was VetLife. I actually got quite a bit of people that were like, hey, I like the graphics and the tees you have, but I'm not a vet. Or I'm a police officer, I never served. Would I feel like a poser if I wear something that says VetLife? And so that kind of resonated with me, and I was like, man, and I would tell people, hey, you don't have to be a vet to wear our stuff. It's a lifestyle brand, so if you support military or 2A tactical stuff, if that's what you just like, wear it. But I took my own words, and I just really thought on it, and I was like, man, we need to rebrand, because I feel like I'm pinning myself into a corner with a brand called VetLife, mm-hmm. and I need to change that to be more inclusive to other people in our vertical that might not have served, that are having those feelings.
I actually, not to your scale, but when I first started doing the podcast, I had shirts made too, mm-hmm. that I did like the screen print screen printing thing. My buddy over here, who was on one of the first episodes, like episode 2 that I did a long time, 2 years ago. His daughter did screen printing stuff for me. So I had like the tactically misguided thing with the old logo on it, and then on the back it said like "Beware Vet" on it. Because I'm not a very clever person, and that's like I don't have people like making shit for me, so that's what I did. Those actually sold like better than the new shirts did. But I had the same issue with people like my friends and stuff that supported it. They're like, well, we're not veterans, can we wear that? I'm like, it's just a fucking shirt for the podcast. I don't care. It's fine.
And at the time too, and I was kind of going through that, it was at the height of a lot of stolen valor. Calling people out for wearing stuff. So that weighed on a lot of people's thoughts, and I understood that. So I needed to adjust fire, but it was so and one thing I think everybody can relate to that might be watching this is any kind of gun stuff or tactical stuff, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I think we all can agree.
Yeah.
So whether you're doing something on the range, whatever, you're always going to have so many people commenting, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. Or, I remember one time, I think my girlfriend at the time had taken a picture with a rifle, and I ensured her finger was straight off trigger, and there was like a couple people like, oh, no trigger discipline. And I was like, her finger is straight up, calm down. I was like, I made sure that, but that, early on put a bad taste in my mouth. And so when I did change the brand from VetLife to Tacticians, I started kind of making it a more motivational fitness brand. Because I was really heavy into the gym at the time, and motivation was really big with me, and I actually started doing that. And when I did do that, I actually saw kind of a dip in sales. Not that I was doing like huge numbers, but I did see a trend in sales drop, and the best way I could put it is I took a brand that I built serving people steak and I gave them a salad.
Yep.
And now they're like, what the fuck is this? I want a steak. That's why I came here to your steak restaurant. You're serving me a salad. So that's the best way I like to put it to people. So it was funny. I started another brand at the time, which was called Nomad Trunks, and it was men's underwear, gym shorts, and swim trunks. Mm-hmm. And I really thought that's where things were going to be. And it was 2018. Mm-hmm. And somebody had got word that I was interested in selling Savage Tacticians. They came down, looked at all the inventory, all the stuff I had, and I was like, you know what, man, like, I'll sell everything for like 80 grand. Like 80 grand, you can have it, takes care of whatever debt I had, and put some money in my pocket, and I can focus on Nomad Trunks. This is where it's going to be. And shortly after, I deployed to Afghanistan, and I got an email from the guy. He's like, hey, me and my partner, we couldn't secure the funds. We would love to have it, but, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. But I remember telling this guy, look, if you want Savage Tacticians to be successful, you need to take it back to what it was. And it was what you kind of see it as now. And so when I got that email, I sat back and I was like, okay, what do I need to do? I was like, well, I need to take my own advice. So I remember I kind of cleaned house. People that were handling marketing, people that were handling social media, I kind of let them go. I restructured a bunch of stuff. I took Nomad Trunks, which was a seasonal brand, because it was swim trunks, gym short, and I dissolved that company. I rebranded it. I brought it over to Savage Tacticians because it's been around a little bit more. It had a bigger platform, even though it was still very small at the time. And I rebranded the swim trunks to underwear, the gym shorts. I brought it over, and I went all in. I bought out my partner at the time, someone that I brought on to kind of handle things while I was deployed. He could handle stuff. I ended up, by that time, I had a girl that was working in my warehouse handling stuff, so I bought him out. I rebranded the Nomad stuff, brought it over, and then I really redid marketing and social media, and I just went all in. It was a very scary time for me because you're talking about, I was making maybe $200,000 a year in sales alone, like all year long. Yeah. And here I am, someone that's spending just a couple grand a month on marketing, and I went all in, and I went from making $200,000 a year in sales to $3 million, and then it just doubled. It just kept doubling over, and I just took my own advice, like I told that guy, and I just executed it, and since then I've just grown it. Like I said, like looking at our t-shirts, I never wanted the brand to be something where people can look at, and you're always gonna have people out there that hate on shit that you do. There's always gonna be people to shit on you, okay? So don't let that ever discourage you if you're out there chasing.
We have a few of those.
Or doing stuff. I just said I just tightened up and I went after it, and I was like, I'm gonna make cool shit and fun shit and whatever, and since then it's been a success.
So you did Savage Tactician before it was VetLife?
No, VetLife
was first, then it became
and
Sav.
Then you did Nomad, and you were
Nomad was kind of at the same. So I started VetLife in 2014, September 11th actually. 2014 is when it was officially registered business, and I launched it February 2nd, 2015, and then I rebranded it in somewhere around 2016, 17-ish, whatever. Around the same time I started Nomad Trunks, but it was the end of 2019 is when I really dissolved Nomad Trunks, reconsolidated, restructured a bunch of stuff, hired and fired, and really made a change.
So you dissolved Nomad, did some restructuring. You told me before we started the filming that you did energy drinks. Mm-hmm. So I have a million questions, but why energy drinks? Was there something that you were like, I can do this better or something like that?
No, so when I dissolved Nomad Trunks, I merged it with Savage Tacticians, and just basically added underwear, swim trunks, and gym shorts to the Savage lineup. Since then, since I restructured everything in 2019, we've just had great growth since then. Like I said, just really, and leaving private security allowed me to really dive into the brand like full time. So when I left that and restructured everything, I went from doing like 200 grand a year to like 3 mil, then 6 mil, and you know what I mean. So it just kept doubling up. So people evidently like what I'm doing, and which is super awesome. So thank you if you're out there and you're a brand supporter. But yeah, so as a success came, I knew that Sav-Tac wasn't the end all be all for me. And anybody that that is interested in the entrepreneurial side and wanting to make lots of money and do that thing, because let's be honest, people that become entrepreneurs and they enjoy what they do, but at the same time they want to make money, they want to like make cool shit out of it, and what part of that process is diversifying. Mm-hmm. So I know Savage Tacticians wasn't end all be all, even though that's my baby. I was approached by one of the owners of Bulkhead Energy early on, like when it was baby, and they sent me some drinks, and I really liked them, and I didn't ask for anything in return. I just wanted to help them out, I shouted it out and doing stuff, whatever, and talking to those guys, I would, kind of just help them out here and there. And then I was like, I really like this company. It's 100% veteran owned and operated. It's very early on stages. I feel like I can bring some value here. So talking to Adam Roeder, which is the guy that founded Bulkhead, the CEO, he's a Navy guy, chatted with him for a while, and we worked out a thing, and I came on board as a co-founder, co-owner of Bulkhead, because it was so early on to help them grow, and we're still very early on. But yeah, Bulkhead Energy is a great energy drink where we put a lot of money into the ingredients. We're on the more expensive side of manufacturing because of the good stuff we have in that quality drink. So being an energy drink, it's kind of weird to say we are more of a healthier energy drink out there. 0 sugar, 0 calorie, 300 milligrams of caffeine, and that sounds like a lot, but we have those nootropics in there that help prevent the jitters and crashes. Now the GPC, which is really good for your cognitive function and all that stuff. Can
you explain nootropics real quick about like the difference between nootropics? I mean, caffeine and nicotine being a nootropic substance, but the nootropics, what it does for your brain, like.
Oh man, I don't know if I can really dive into the deep science of that. It helps balance that caffeine up there. You don't get the jitters, you don't get the crashes from there. It helps you just. It's like, what's the best way to put it? It's almost like an Adderall in a sense. It helps you focus,
productivity stuff.
But then you don't have the Adderall crash.
Well, so I'm kind of picking up that you care about the product. Like you're like, anybody can shove sweet stuff into a can and just load it with a ton of caffeine.
Oh yeah, we don't have any dyes or anything like that. It's all natural. So when I came on board with it, is we have a bunch of Navy guys in there, and you have people like Jocko and all those other guys, great dudes as well, but they have energy drinks and do stuff, but we can actually claim we're veteran owned and veteran operated. We run our own warehouses. We handle our own distribution. We handle creating the flavors and all that stuff. And so when I came aboard, I was like, man, I would love to see this on Lejeune. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know this at the time, but
instead of Rip It.
Right. Hey,
you can't bash the Rip It.
Rip It got me through quite a few fucking patrols, so I can't. I would have the little fucking grenade can.
The shorties.
Dude, but now that I'm with Bulkhead, fuck you, Rip It. So, but I didn't know this at the time, but like Adam had talked to. Okay, let me step back real quick. So we started in San Diego on that naval base. He got the start. And I'm telling you what, like Bulkhead has done so well. We're outperforming Red Bull and Monster.
Hell yeah!
Shit. Like San Diego, we're killing it out there. We're doing so well that the Navy has actually gave us the blessing to go to all bases. So we have now branched out to NAS Jax, which is in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
And we also have gotten the word, and we're still working out all the details to go on naval ships. So,
Dude.
which would be huge.
That's so cool.
So, knowing that.
Use your ship card, bitches.
Can you imagine being like a Sea Whiz operator and you're just drinking one of these things and then something happens and you're like, time to shine.
You're just
like,
so
come on it, bitches.
But I stepped back and I was like, okay, cool. They're on the naval bases and everything's doing good, whatever. I was like, I want to see this I want to see this back home, Camp Lejeune, baby. I want to see it fucking, in the digis. I want to see my boys drinking it. So they had talked to headquarters back in the day. I didn't know this at the time. Adam did. And they basically were like, hey, we want to see you guys as a national brand before we even attempt to bring you on. And I always thought that was such a stupid thing. Mm-hmm. It's almost like people that go to college and you go to apply for a job, they're like, well, you got the degree, but we need some experience. Yep. And then you got people that don't go to college and they come in and they go, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, okay, well, we need you to have the degree. And it's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, so it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of shit.
Absolutely.
So, not knowing all this, I just fucking hopped in my car, went to Lejeune, took some Bulkhead. I went up there and knocked on doors until I got pointed in the right direction, the right person to talk to.
For MCCS?
Yeah, it was a local deal. So the way the Marine Corps works and a lot of other bases work, you have headquarters, which they handle everything. You go base wide, but then each base also has a lot of funds for local deals to do their own thing. So I went in there and I let them try it. I showed them what it was about, told them who we were and whatnot. They loved it. They loved the our pricing. They loved the flavor. They just loved everything about us. So the Marine Corps said, you know what, hey, Camp Lejeune said, we're gonna put you on Camp Lejeune. Let's see how you guys do. They put us in 4 stores. We're at Mag 29 Marine Mart, Courthouse Bay Marine Mart.
Yes!
We're at the Marine Mart on Gonzales and McHugh, and then we are in the Wallace Creek Marine Mart. Wallace Creek Marine Mart is actually the busiest Marine Mart in all of.
Well, there's a lot of. I actually had a customer come in the other day that was, I think he was with 2-2s in Wallace Creek now.
Yeah.
Because when I dealt with them, they were on D Street.
Dude.
Where the double decker.
When I started
and the
going
chicken
back
shack is.
It's confusing.
I had to get a GPS because there's so many new roads I remember I haven't been to Lejeune in a while, and I think I drove up there a couple years ago to go to a reunion, and I drove up to the old main gate, and that was like a ghost town. I was like, I called my buddy. I was like,
am I at the right
he was working on Lejeune at the time, and I was like, dude,
am I at the right fucking place?
He's like, oh yeah, dude, just drive through. There's a new gate down there. I was like, okay.
You're talking about after the Wilson Gate got opened?
Well, there's the Wilson Gate, but the old main gate now is shut down. There's a new main gate behind the old main gate.
It's really weird because I used to go the back way, like through Courthouse Bay. And I knew that route.
Hasn't changed at all.
No.
But,
172 gate and Sneed's Ferry Gate.
Yeah.
Well, I wound up going
great for when you're really
for the
drunk
contracting to go to because I still had my CAT card, but they needed me to go do some stuff, so I had to go find the gate, and I drove there. And they're like, well, you're good to go on. Just go find this building. And I drive, and there's like overpasses now. And I was sitting out there. I was like, it used to be one road.
But
that was it. Yeah. That was it.
When was this new main gate put in?
Shit, I don't know
like
when
20. It was while I was in California, 2015, 2016.
Oh, okay, so so that's okay. Never mind. That's the same main gate I know then, because I got there. I got to Lejeune in the end of 2014.
Well, even go to the
they opened that Wilson Gate up, and it's
when I came back the next time, I was like, all right, I'll take the GPS as me going. Okay, I'm gonna go through here. I was like, holy, I was like, where am I going?
That shit was under construction when you were still in.
Yeah.
That shit was under construction when he was a boot, and then it got completed in like fucking 2019.
Yeah, but so I got on there. We got Bulkhead in, and the chief warrant officer and all those guys have been emailing. They're like, dude, you guys are killing it. And it's funny too. Is when I was up there, we did some taste tests, and people that I was in the Marine Corps with, I got out as a sergeant, and people I was in the Marine Corps with, walking up, and they're like, gunny. They're like master sergeants, sergeant majors, and they're walking up. They're like, oh man, I was like, I didn't, I almost wanted to. I was like, I know you, but god damn, you know.
They go from
like weight on that collar, you know.
Partying when they're like corporals, sergeants, and now they're like in charge of big shit. And it's like, bro, I have seen you like drinking beer bongs upside down, doing wild stuff, and now you're like a MAG-TAF level dude.
Dude, it's wild to see. Like, a buddy is like, they're officers and warrant officers, and like I said, sergeant majors and master sergeants. This is crazy. But they got there and like, dude, they tell me all the time, they're like, dude, I'm gonna tell you what, man. I'll walk out formations, or we got something going on, and my Marines have Bulkhead in their hand. So they're like, it's super cool to like see them drinking something, and they have no clue that I know that you're a part of that, and you know, we serve together. So that's a great feeling, and that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring it to Lejeune, you know, because it's like bringing it home, you know. So anyway, we're doing good on Lejeune. We're still kind of in like a pilot program for them, but if it continues at the rate it is, they're looking to put us base wide, and I already know Cherry Point is interested in us, but I know Lejeune has already said that they'll do the homework for headquarters, and so basically once they get the numbers in after like 90, 120 days, they're going to send it up to headquarters, and if everything improves, that's something we could do. We could become Marine Corps wide.
Dude, so, I will say I know how that feeling is, because shout out to the guys on New River and Lejeune that watch this. We got a couple of those dudes that come in to the shop that know that I do the podcast and stuff, and they listen to it while they're at work. Like, they put it on and play it, and like all their guys hear it.
Well, if you're
shit like that,
this,
so
head up to the Marine Mart, Mag 29, grab some Bulkhead.
Grab some fucking Bulkhead Energy.
Yeah.
So
and then go on your phone and go to Sav-Tac and get some fucking swag, bitches.
But yeah, actually,
that's not grunt style and 9-line.
Check us out, Bulkhead, on Instagram, Facebook. Show some love, give us a like, you know. So yeah.
So you did Marine Corps. Now it went to attire, contracting. Now you're crushing the energy drink market. You were talking about possibly a bar downtown.
Yeah, that's been a shit show. But, we secured a building in December. Paid deposits. The people that we were using for our GC, they were recommended to us from some good friends. They do lots of bar work. Long story short, we're a couple months into it, and things are moving slow. Communication is garbage. I call them out on it. It's time for permitting. They don't have their GC license.
Oh no.
Oh shit.
So I fire them, and then it takes us a good month just getting bids from different GCs and whatnot. We finally secured that. The guy we have now is a good dude. Actually recommended to me again by another Marine. Not the first one was a Marine, but this guy, a buddy of mine, a Marine. He does a lot of real estate and other stuff, and he recommended this guy. He came aboard, good dude. So we're in the permit phase. We're getting ready to have that secured and build out what we have. And so it's gonna be a bar and arcade.
Dude, that's awesome.
Rally Point.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So the plan is, if this does really well, we want to bring it to Jacksonville and Fayetteville.
That's awesome.
That's fucking dope.
That's the plan right now. But
now I will definitely go, since it's a bar and arcade. I will definitely go if it has a Halo. No. Halo Fire Team Raven. If it has that game, if you can't tell.
Well,
by the fucking
the downtown scene has changed so much, and there have been like bars that are, you know, they're basically, they've been there for a long period of time, and they have a good customer base. From everything that we've been talking about, relationships between yourself and people, knowing people, being able to be like, hey, I know a guy, or if you're talking to another veteran business owner, you're like, oh, I know this guy, and you can help and steer people into different directions when it comes to that. One thing I like to talk about a little bit is like our personal relationships that we've had and decisions that we've made. And one of the things I like to point is that sometimes you're like, hey, I can't do something because I need to take care of, say, my family, or those people in your lives will influence your decisions. Right now, you're married. You got married in 2019?
2021.
2021, I'm sorry. Talk a little bit about, like, I know you're a healthy dude, you're driven, you're doing all this entrepreneurial stuff. What on the family side of stuff? Like, when we're talking about being a healthy individual, just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, work and personal life I mean, I'm sure y'all have heard it before, but it's a balance, and it's hard because I'm the type of person. I'm very goal driven, and having Savage Tacticians, having Bulkhead, working on Rally Point. I'm also in negotiations with another company to come on board as an owner and help them turn things around and whatnot. And then at the same time, I'm also standing up another company, which is like chains and pendants and whatnot, that will be something that our vertical people, that serve first responder, blue collar workers, stuff like that, can relate to. I'm in the middle of doing that. So I have a lot on my plate, and I love it. I love the hustle. I love the grind. My wife can hate me sometimes for that. But at the end of the day, I do it all for not just myself, because when it comes to that, I can be very selfish, because I love the fucking work. I love the building something, the creating something, and seeing people like walking into shops and people wearing stuff, or getting stories of people in California or Miami, or even fucking in Puerto Rico on vacation. I've had stories of people just seeing my stuff, and it's very fucking fulfilling to hear. So aside from that, the personal life, finding balance is really tough. I got out of a long-term relationship in 2018, and while in Afghanistan, some little Irish honey slid into my DMs, and I just, I didn't really think nothing of it at the time. I kind of blew her off. We chatted a little bit, but I blew her off. One thing led to another. We start chatting some more, and next thing you know, I'm on a flight to the UK. I meet her, have a great time, and she never lets me live this down. She sits there and thinks I met the love of my life, and I sit there and think, and I tell her all this all the time, not all the time, but I've told her this before. When I left for that trip, walking on my plane, walking to my gate, waving, like having a good time, like, hey, I was like, I'll never see you again. I literally was saying that to myself as I was waving to her. But here we are, and now she's here in the U.S. and we have a 9-month-old kid, and we're married. We did everything backwards. So she moved here because the whole COVID thing. We had, that was a long story. We had to go to Mexico for like 2 weeks before she could come here. She got here. We got married to help with her citizenship and green card and stuff like that. And then we started having plans to build a house, and when she falls pregnant. So we have never even had our wedding. So we're actually planning that for next year in Ireland, so pretty excited about that. But yeah, dude,
I'll be looking for the invite, bitch.
I get a lot of flack from her because there's times where I'll come home and I'll show her some love. I'll play with my boy and whatnot, and but then I'll be like, oh shit, I gotta do payroll, or I gotta do something. But I still wear a lot of hats with my businesses, and as I grow, though, it is nice to kind of start to hand stuff off. But it is hard when you build something and to start handing
the
things
trust
off.
Because
no one's gonna show it love and attention like you do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it is tough, but at the same time, it's a little bit of weight off your chest. But yeah, finding that balance is tough. It's really hard, and I get a lot of flack from it sometimes. So I've set goals to be like in 10 years I want to be like kind of like done.
Absolutely.
I'm doing this a long time. I'm like by 50 I kind of want to be like some of these businesses. I want to like either step away or have a very minimal role. I would love to get to the point where I almost have just like the bars, and I have managers that running that, and I just have the bars going. That would be great. I say that now, but being who I am and what I like to do.
You actually might know him. His name's Don, the dude that owns Rebellion.
I don't know. I've been
Don and Wes. So they own Rebellion. They own what used to be Crust. They just bought that out and they redid it, and they're starting another like bar-ish thing over by Edward Teach.
Okay.
Same thing. Like Don's like the old dude that's in retirement that doesn't give a fuck. He just owns all this shit. He shows up, cool as fuck, comes in the shop all the time. And his son Wes is the one that runs everything. And I met both of them. They're fantastic dudes. Love you guys. I know you guys both watch this. Still want you to come on, Don, whenever you get your old ass up the stairs and come here. But no, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, he started kind of like sitting back with it, and he let his son take it over and do all things for him. And they've expanded massively over the past year with what they're doing. So
it's a lot of work, and I want to get to the point, especially with Sav-Tac, where I'm hands off on a lot of stuff. I just want to be like deep into the product design,
the creativity portion.
Exactly, the creativity. Like, right now with like a lot of our designs and stuff.
God damn, help us out.
that's me.
I'm doing that shit and I suck, and you guys know it.
Yeah. It takes time, man. It really takes time, but
like after this, I'm gonna show you like the two little snip ads that I made to post before this. I'm gonna see what you think of them first.
Like I said earlier, like the early days, I look back at some of the stuff that like design ideas I had and creativity, and I was just like, God, what was I thinking? But everybody has to start somewhere, and you can't start at the top. You have to work your way up there, man. And so it takes time. So anybody that's out there, if you have something you want to do, something you want to create. You have the starting point. You're not going to be the top dog right out the gate. So just take that into mind. And it takes time to grow and learn. I'm still learning. I think even at one point I entertained the idea of going back to college again, getting my business degree. And my buddy Corey was like, "Why?" He went to school for business, and he's very successful now. He owns a company called Triton 6, and he was like, "Why would you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Because I'm in business." Well, he's like, "Because you're already getting the best.
You're already there.
Degree you can get. You're knee deep. You're hands on. You're learning."
The amount of advice, and it is in a way, the amount of advice that you've already given out right now is just amazing. Like if you went back, like time traveled back at the very beginning of this, would you think you're at where you're at now? Would you ever imagine that? Or did you see yourself when you first started?
No. I never, like I said, I never in a million years thought of apparel. Like I would be an apparel or a business owner.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be in business at all. I didn't find the love for it until I kind of got started. And that all started with me laying in bed in Afghanistan. And no matter where you go, you got this Lance Corporal underground. Okay.
Yep.
It's like you got this bogus word that always comes through. Oh, the contract's going to end. Oh, they're going away. We're going away, guys. We're not gonna, blah blah blah. It's always something, and that put the fear in me at the time. I was like, okay, I never finished college. I'm out of the Marine Corps, and at the time too. But I wanted to do a career in the Marine Corps. I wanted to go get my B billet as a DI, and I wanted to do 20 years.
Yep.
But I had multiple surgeries in the Marine Corps, and when you have multiple surgeries, you're on like duty, you're in physical therapy, you're doing all this shit, and coming from someone that was like top 10% of his fit reps, the CEO's fit reps, and you're getting all these surgeries and command is changing over, and people are like, who the fuck is Sergeant Ullman? Like, where the fuck is he? He's always light duty, he's a broke dick, and this and that, and like, it put a bad taste in my mouth with the Marine Corps, and that was the main reason I decided to get out of the Marine Corps is the Marine Corps, and I guess it could go anywhere, any kind of business or whatnot, but when you're there and you're doing good, everyone, is cool, and it can kind of be taken for granted, but whenever you need your time to fix some shit or you're broke,
exactly,
people kind of forget about the good you did and who you were, especially if commanders changing over, they don't know, and it put a bad taste in my mouth at the time. That's why I decided to get out. And but sitting in Afghanistan, when I decided to do the business thing, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, if the contract goes away, we're contractors. We're fucking nobodies.
Contract to contractors. Yeah.
So longevity. It put a fear in me, like, what am I going to do? Because not only do I have my son, but I have a 14-year-old. Now he's 14, but at the time I had my son, and when he was younger, and it really scared me, like, how am I going to support him? Like, what am I going to do? So that's where the whole, I was like, I'm gonna start a t-shirt business, and it was just, I pulled it out of my ass. I just fucking ran with it, and it's been a learning experience this whole time. A very expensive learning experience. I spent all my money. I never took out a loan for anything.
Oh, wow.
I reinvested all my own money, and it's funny as I started, even though I started the business in September 2014, launched in 2015, I didn't take a paycheck until I think it was July 2020. It was the first time I ever took any money out of the business. I always reinvested it and watered it. And that's, if I can give anybody any advice that's doing any kind of business, a lot of people that started business, they think, oh, they see some extra revenue, some extra money coming in, and they think, oh, I'm going to go treat myself, I'm going to go do this, whatever. I was always disciplined enough to tell myself, I have another source of income that's paying my bills, and I can survive off that and still invest some into this, and whatever I'm making over here, I'm going to keep reinvesting it and watering the business to grow. And so it got to the point where I was watering the business and expanding it, adding to the lineup, and what I had to offer, but then also being able to bring someone in and pay them to manage orders and manage inventory and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So if you have the ability and you have another source of income and you have a side hustle, don't touch that money. Reinvest it. That's probably one of the best advice I can give someone that's trying to start something.
I got one my last question.
All right, we got fucking 3 minutes on the clock. Go.
What's your favorite shirt that you made? The one that you made, you still wear it. Your number one shirt that you're like, this is the shirt that I like the most.
So it's not our top seller. It's a steady, but I don't know what it is. I love the Do Good Recklessly.
Yep.
It's got Do Good Recklessly. It's in the square, and it's got like nods, a knife, and like a MP5 at the bottom. And I don't know. I love that fucking shirt. The meaning behind it, whatever. And I don't know. That's probably one of my favorites.
I'll say my favorite, aside from the one I'm wearing currently, the Embrace Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the little smiley face, you guys have seen it because I've done the product placement. What is that?
That
before one of the episodes.
I remember creating that shirt actually.
Let me ask you this: have you watched any of the episodes prior to this?
I haven't watched any of them yet. I'm not a big podcast.
Probably a good thing.
It's
but
it's a good thing.
The only time I actually ever listen to any podcast is if I'm on a long drive.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I don't really have any time that I just sit down and jump into YouTube or listen to stuff. I'm really, honestly, I swear to God, I wake up in the morning and I make coffee, I spend some time with my wife and my son, and I go to the gym, and then I work, and I come home, I try to squeeze in a little bit of work if the wife doesn't, give me the look, and then I spend some time with them, and then I sit down and I either have a whiskey or I eat an edible, and I just fucking melt into the couch.
Hell yeah.
And then I go to bed. Hell yeah. But
first time the edibles have been mentioned.
Routine is important.
To dive into something like this is if I'm on a long drive. So not that I
no, it was like so the Marine Corps recruiters here, they actually on their way. So both of them live in fucking Jacksonville and Richland. So on their way into work, they listen to this, and that was one of the things on there. Was one of the ones with the product placement. What is that? It's because I was like right by the camera, and I had the little smiley face with the nods on top of it. That is by far my favorite shirt. It was the first shirt that I bought from Sav-Tac.
Hell yeah.
It's the first shirt I bought. It's still my favorite.
I came across that quote. I was like, embrace chaos. I was like, I really fucking like that. I was like, what can I do? And when I'm making designs, I either have some kind of visual in my head, or I come across a quote or something I like. But
all I have to say is I absolutely love the fucking looks from people that I get out in town, like at fucking breweries and shit, when they see the shirts that I'm wearing. The Send It. The Send It shirt was a good one too.
Dude, so when I created that shirt, I literally thought this is kind of cool, but I don't know how this is gonna do. Send It is blown the fuck up. It's just killing it, man. So we've done the t-shirt. Now we have hats, we have stickers, we have patches, we have swim shorts now. I think we're working on another color option, and tanks.
Well, all Send It.
All Send It.
That's dope.
That design is just getting eaten up.
So I have a a little funny story from UNCW when I was at college about the Send It, about the Shaka. Apparently that was racist as of 2019.
Oh, so it was the whole fucking...
Yeah, like I had a English teacher. My first class in college was English fucking 1. And that was one of the lessons was, and she was a diver, and that's an actual like sign that you use as a diver. And she was like, "Yeah, apparently that's racist now. We can't do that anymore." I'm like, "What? How the fuck?" I do that. Like, there's so many pictures of me doing shit when I was in where like I was doing the fucking Shaka sign. I'm like, that's what it is. Like you can't just change that.
We can't lend credence to idiots if they want to pretend something stupid. The thing is everybody here knows what Send It means, what the Shaka means. It's unfortunate that there's dumb people out there and they have access to the internet, but honestly, like
Well,
they have access to air.
Like, obviously we sell Hawaiian shirts with Sav-Tac Tacticians. The whole Proud Boy thing and January 2nd, and people were, I know there was, every once in a while we'd find people come across our Instagram and, oh, the Proud Boys are racist, and I'm like, yeah, the Hawaiian shirt was invented in like, I think they started selling them in like 1936 or something like that. I was like, so you're telling me it's a racist symbol all the way back then? I'm like, come on, man. I was like, it's just a wild time to be alive. You got fucking dudes that are women crushing it in women category, and it's just
hey, you know what? I have heard, I've heard through the grapevine that he's moving from women's swimming to the Special Olympics. That's his next. Paralympics. Next goal is Paralympics, and then after that is the Special Olympics.
Well, I will say, I am proud to say that, Savage Tacticians, we are an inclusive brand, so we have invented a swimsuit for all you Navy guys to tuck it. So,
there we go.
We'll be dropping that here soon. So.
Now we're good. Now we got a little bit of album on that one.
And you were telling me to calm down.
Hey, all right, look, you calm. All right, I asked you to calm down a little bit. You calmed down too much.
That's my bad shoulder.
We needed that.
I blew my shoulder out like 2 weeks ago, and the entire time we're filming, my buddy Hutch is slapping me on the shoulder.
He knew what he was doing there. And then the episode before that, we all remember that. He was sling. It was great.
It's been absolutely amazing to have you on the podcast. Like the advice, the life lessons, just like the journey going from, trying to start off in the Air Force, and now you're here. And it's just been a blast having you on the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me. If I put some advice out there that anyone can utilize and execute in the real world, awesome. I'm glad I was able to do that. But I'm glad to have glad that you guys had me up here, and come back any other time.
Hell yeah. With that, ladies and gents, and I mean ladies and gents, that concludes episode 22, Savagely Misguided. Now you get the name. If you didn't know, now you know. Leave a couple of comments in this one. Please leave some comments in this one. Like this episode, like all the fucking episodes. Subscribe, hit that little bell button so you know when we post some shit from now on. As Jameson actually pointed out in the last episode about the bell button. I completely forgot about that, about hitting the little bell. And we'll see you guys next week for our next episode of Fuckery. It'll probably be some random off the wall good shit for me and Hunter.
Yeah, we'll probably do something weird like the Italian RDD or something weird. You know me, I like dumb shit. But in the meantime, when you're clicking that bell, don't be a bitch. Go get some Bulkhead Energy drink if you're on.
And buy some Savage Tactician shirts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As you see, I rep that like almost every episode, other than like me wearing my Tactfully Misguided shirt. I'm usually wearing
I think you're
that,
sick when you don't wear that stuff, because that's normally what you wear.
Then I would just be like,
"Are you feeling okay?
Are you all right?" I'm hungover. Yeah. I'm hungover and grabbed whatever was in the wardrobe.
Hell yeah!
All right, guys. With that, I'm Pat.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Kevin.
Have a good night. Have a good week, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace in the Middle East?
We'll be out of a
Question
job.
mark?
We'll be out of a job.
Yeah, we'd be out of a job.
Hell yeah.